Welcome, listeners, to another exciting episode of Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies. This week's episode is on the 1995 film Batman Forever! Starring Val Kilmer, Tommy Lee Jones, Jim Carrey, Nicole Kidman, Chris O'Donnell, Michael Goff, Pat Hingle, and a surprise appearance by Drew Barrymore. Directed by Joel Schumacher. Written by Lee Batchelor, Janet Scott Batchelor, and Akiva Goldsman.
That was beautiful. Wow, that was quite an intro, John. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
That might have to become a standard rather than my "Hey everybody" type intro.
Yeah, I've been playing some Super Smash Brothers, so I think it's gotten in my head a little bit.
Very nice, very nice. Well, this is our first podcast with me back in California. By the time it airs, I'll have been back in California for a while, but this is our first non-face-to-face episode again, which is kind of a bummer. It worked really well.
I really enjoyed the face-to-face one.
I did too. If we lived closer, it would be obviously a little bit more ideal. We could just hop over to somebody's house and do the podcast, and it'd be easy. But
this brings back memories,
right?
So
it's harder. I think it's harder sometimes to stick to our schedule this way. Whereas when you're expecting somebody to come over to your house and stuff, it's a little easier to maintain the schedule. But
and plus we knew you had a timeline.
Right.
So we were kind of like, let's get as many of these in as we can.
Sure.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah, which I really liked. We tried to fit one last one in there, but we weren't able to get it. So now we're doing it.
Yeah.
So, like John said, we're talking about Batman Forever from 1995. As always, we kind of start off with, memories of when we first saw the film and everything. And I can tell you right now, when I first saw this movie, I loved it when it came out. I have a weird, distinct memory of standing in line at Six Flags. It must have been the summer of 95. It must have been before the movie came out. I don't know when it was released, if it was a June or July release. But I remember standing in line for the Scream Machine at Six Flags over Georgia and seeing a preview for Batman Forever on like the TVs. You know how they always have the TVs playing whatever when you're standing in line? I remember seeing the preview for it, and I got so excited. Like, I could not wait for Batman Forever. It looked so cool to me.
Yeah, I was stoked too. I don't remember, watching the film again, watching some of the scenes, I remember some of the clips that were in the trailer. That just I was super excited about. We've talked about the glass mugs before.
Yep.
I don't remember which chain had them.
McDonald's.
Was it McDonald's?
Yep.
So there was, a lot of marketing going on. You had the follow-up to Burton's films, and I actually didn't know that Tim Burton produced this movie.
Yeah, and I don't, I had heard that, Warner Brothers didn't want him to direct this one because Batman Returns was so dark, and they were worried that they were going to kind of lose their audience if they kept Burton at the helm. And so I remember hearing that they had asked Tim Burton, or maybe they had told Tim Burton he wasn't going to direct the third one, but they were going to keep him on as producer. I don't know how much of that is actually true. It's very possible that Burton just wasn't interested in doing a third one, but kept a producer. He produced this one, but he did not produce Batman and Robin. So I really, I don't really know what the story is there. I do remember it seemed like the Riddler and Robin were going to be in this movie from the get-go. Because I remember, I don't know if you remember from the Batman Returns episode, but I talked about reading Disney Adventure magazine when I was a kid. Shortly after Batman Returns came out, I remember, and you have to take this with a grain of salt because it's Disney Adventure magazine, so they're probably not, the top quality of news reporting and whatever. But they said that the third Batman movie was going to have the Riddler in it, and they were saying that it was going to be Robin Williams. And then they said that who was going to play Robin was Michael J. Fox. And I remember thinking, like, that's crazy.
You were probably pretty excited, though, too.
I was pretty excited, yeah. This had to have been like 92, 93, I guess, when I was reading it in the magazine. It was probably right after Batman Returns, so I'm assuming it was like 92. Sometime in 92, and I was reading it, and I was thinking it was so cool. But then a couple years go by, and they do have Robin and Riddler in the movie, but instead of Robin Williams, it's Jim Carrey, and instead of Michael J. Fox, who I feel like probably would have been maybe too old for the role by that point, was given to Chris O'Donnell.
Mm-hmm.
Robin Williams would have been interesting, and I think he wanted to be a part of the Batman universe. I can't remember. I read something shortly after he died about how he wanted... Oh, he was wanting to be in like Christopher Nolan's Batman movies. Pretty bad.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is what I read. He had worked with Christopher Nolan on Insomnia, and was like trying to get, he wanted to be like the Riddler or something in one of Nolan's films, which obviously never happened. But I think if Batman Forever had come out like 5 years earlier, if like it had been a 1990 film, or maybe even like a 92, like if it had come out around the same time as Batman Returns, I think Robin Williams would have been the Riddler.
Right. I was going to say the time that it came out was when Jim Carrey was super hot. He blew up like the year before, 94. Yeah, Dumb and Dumber, The Mask,
Ace Ventura.
Ace Ventura was 93, I think.
I think it was, yeah.
So yeah, he was the comedy king at that time. And it was very exciting, actually. I was a Jim Carrey fan. So
was I. I couldn't wait to see him as the Riddler.
Yeah, and I liked how they kept the suit. The
Riddler, yeah, like the leotard or whatever.
Yeah, like that. That's one of my growing up. When I got some of my very first Batman action figures, around 5 years old. I had the 89 Batman figure, which I still have.
Mm-hmm.
I had the Joker, Jack Nicholson's Joker, which didn't... I think it was for the movie.
Was it the one where his face changed if you put it under cold water?
I did have that one. I'm thinking of it. I forgot about that one.
I have that one.
No, I also had... the one I'm talking about is more cartoony.
Oh, okay.
And he had his classic purple tuxedo get up, but he had this water thing you could put in the back and squirt.
It was a little tube and it would shoot out the flower, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I had that one too, and I think it was for the movie. It didn't look like Jack Nicholson at all.
Right.
But it was for the movie, and then they came out later with the one where his face changed color.
Right.
Which was also for the movie, and that one looked a lot more like him.
I'm wondering if it was for them. Maybe it wasn't for the movie, because I think they had a series around that time too that wasn't. But at the same time, I don't remember a Batman figure that was not for the movie.
Right. I mean, I had older Batman figures that were blue and gray that were from like the Super Friends cartoon show and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think. I mean, this Joker, the one that you're talking about, is a different style of action figure though from that one. It's a little bit taller, so I don't think it's from the Super Friends series. I'm pretty sure it's from the movie, but I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, they also had a Penguin. I had that one.
Yeah.
And this was back in '89, so it was before Returns, so it was not that Penguin. And then also there was a Riddler.
Right.
And I just remember that suit really stuck out to me. I just liked the green and the question marks and everything. So when they kept that, I was very happy.
The Riddler from the old Adam West show, he wore a suit similar to that, didn't he? Yeah. So it could be. I wonder if it's like an action figure, not from the show, but from maybe kind of that design or something. Or I don't know. Maybe he wore. I'm trying to. I don't know.
I think he wore that in the comics.
I think he did too. Yeah. Now that you're talking about it, it's interesting that the Riddler was always one of your favorite characters, because one of my favorite characters was always Two-Face.
Right.
I had a couple of comics from a kid that Two-Face was in, and he wasn't in the Adam West show. He was on the animated series, Mm-hmm. And so I was real excited to finally see a live-action version of Two-Face. And at the time, I really enjoyed Tommy Lee Jones' performance. Now, not so. It feels a little too Joker-ish to me.
Exactly.
Now.
That's one of the things I noted, because it's been a little while since I've seen this movie, and I was like, I almost felt like Tommy Lee Jones was inspired, by Jack Nicholson's Joker.
Yeah, it felt like he was essentially playing the Joker rather than Two-Face. He just had, he had the coin and everything, and he talked, kind of in a plural sense, so he's talking about the two identities. Mm-hmm. But other than that, like I don't remember how Two-Face was really kind of portrayed in the comics. I don't think he was portrayed as that Joker kind of way. I thought he was always kind of portrayed more as a kind of a calculating kind of mobster type.
Right. We also had the animated series to go off of as well.
Right.
I mean,
where he had like the split personality type thing.
Yeah, we watched that like crazy, and that's kind of who. In fact, I think that was the first time I was introduced to Two-Face. I remember there was a figure that I had around that time. I don't remember if it was before the cartoon came out or not, but he had like this big coin in his hand that would, I think, twist.
Huh.
If you know what I'm talking about.
I don't recall that one. Mm-mm.
Seems like that, but that's kind of the first recollection I have of Two-Face.
I remember it being a long time before I got a Two-Face action figure. It might have been a while before the animated series line of toys put out a Two-Face figure, or maybe it was just a while before I was able to get one. But I wish I had never done this, but I took the Peter Venkman figure from my Ghostbusters collection and like magic markered half of his face so that he could be Two-Face. And I later washed it off, but unfortunately, like I had it on there for so long that you can still kind of see
stained.
Like it kind of stained half of his face. So I'm a little bummed that I did that and ruined that Ghostbuster toy, but at the time when it was like 92 or whatever, I could not wait. I was just like, I need a Two-Face toy, and so I colored in half Venkman's face so that he could be the Two-Face.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
you do what you got to do when you're a kid,
Yeah, there's some of my figures, I'd toss them up in the air, let them hit the driveway. Yeah.
There's figures like missing limbs and stuff that I wish, like now as an adult, I'm like, why was I so destructive as a kid? Yep. One of the things that I noticed right off the bat with this movie is, number one, Michael Keaton's not in it anymore. We had Michael Keaton in Batman and Batman Returns, and he didn't want to reprise his role, and so now we have Val Kilmer, which isn't a problem. I actually think Val Kilmer's pretty good in this movie.
I agree.
But one of the first things you notice right off the bat is a terrible joke where Alfred says, "May I persuade, or can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you?" And he goes, "I'll get drive-through."
Yep.
And I remember that line being played in a lot of McDonald's commercials, and it's, as an adult now, I was like, there's no reason for that to be in the movie other than to be used in McDonald's commercials later.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed there was a gigantic McDonald's arch in the scene where Robin, well, he wasn't Robin at the time, Dick Grayson, he takes the Batmobile out.
Yeah.
And he, is driving down the street, and there's this, how they overdo this, all the city, stuff.
It's all exaggerated.
Yeah, there was this huge arch in the background. So that would not surprise me if McDonald's had a hand in that.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, like we said, it was a big cross-promotion type stuff that they used to do back then. And, I mean, there's still product placement that goes on now, especially in Michael Bay movies. But that just, for me, especially watching it now as an adult, like, as a kid, you don't care. It's funny. Drive-through, that's funny. Mm-hmm. He's going to take the Batmobile through the drive-through. But now you watch it now and you hear that line and you just think, this is a different Batman than Batman Returns and Batman.
So the opening movie, you immediately, before that, even with the credits, you've got these colorful... Each actor's name is different color, bright. And then it goes into the Batcave, and you just see blue, like, lights everywhere.
Yeah,
neon,
kind of moving lights and everything.
And then it does the classic... Your first introduction to Batman, you don't even see him. You see his arm turn, and it's doing the classic, like, Joel Schumacher Batman getting dressed kind of montage.
Which, at the time, wasn't classic Joel Schumacher Batman getting dressed. It was like, it was new because this is the first Joel Schumacher Batman.
Right.
But yeah, no, I get what you're saying, yeah. He overused it, especially in the next one, in the Batman and Robin.
Right.
But yeah, and it's honestly, when I watch this movie with the colors and the sets and the shots like that, which they never did any of these shots in the old show, but it feels like they're trying to get Batman back to the Adam West kind of roots.
Right.
Which really is the wrong direction to go with Batman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Batman, the Adam West Batman is great, and I love it, and I can watch it and have fun, but it is not the Batman that works in, like, movies.
Right. It's a different genre.
Exactly.
Adam West's Batman. I felt like, I was talking about how the Riddler has that suit, and I liked that, but I am wondering, because his actions, the way he'd act, kicking his cane and everything, just twirling his cane, just kind of reminded me of the Riddler from the Adam West show.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who also was kind of Joker-ish as well.
Right.
I'm blanking on the actor's name that played him in the Adam West show, which is unfortunate. Is Frank something. But, both Riddler and Two-Face in this movie seem like they're kind of channeling the Joker. And the Riddler, like you said, when this movie came out, the Riddler, we kind of expected it because of that's how it was portrayed from the old Adam West show.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if a movie was to come out now and have the Riddler in it, I don't think we would like it to be like that. I think we'd want it to be more... Frank Gorshin was his name that played the Riddler from the Adam West show. I think now we'd rather have it... Remember the Riddler from the animated series? He was like...
He was not... He was all serious.
Yeah, he was very serious. Very... Like, he taunted Batman and everything. He took it very seriously, He was...
He was an intellect.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we would see him portrayed now in movies now. If if we were to have a Batman movie come out tomorrow that had the Riddler in it, I think that's how it would be portrayed. And I don't think he'd be in a skin-tight suit. It'd be like probably just a regular green suit or something.
I mean, I get that. It would be weird, but I like that outfit.
No, I do too. I get it. It's like there is kind of a weird nostalgia to it, and so I'm glad that they put it in this movie. Yeah. I actually, like I said, I can still watch this movie and enjoy it. I don't think I have anything bad, really. I mean, well, there are bad things to say about Batman Forever, but it's still enjoyable. It's just like I always say, it's kind of headed in the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. It's taking a step backwards rather than a step forwards.
Yeah.
And I understand, Batman Returns came out, and I guess, I look back and think about what my family thought about Batman Returns, and they thought it was too dark. I don't think they would have taken me to see it as a kid had they previewed it, but thankfully they didn't.
Yeah, my parents either. They didn't like it. Thankfully, I got to see it in the theater. That was the first Batman movie I got to see in the theater.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold the same nostalgia for me, but I still like the fact that I got to say, hey, I saw Batman Returns in the theater.
Yeah. And so, I think a lot of families felt that way, and Warner Brothers got nervous or something and thought, maybe we need to make more family-friendly Batman.
Right.
And so that's what they did, and then I guess they thought this one was a big hit. Batman Forever was a huge hit. And they thought, we're doing something right. Let's go family-friendly even more for Batman and Robin, and that was a huge mistake. So, yeah, it was definitely headed in the wrong direction, but it did well in Warner Brothers. It was a success for Warner Brothers. And I think part of that is the cast, really. I think there's, having Val Kilmer and Jim Carrey and everything in the movie, I think did a... And it's, and like, my dad loved it. I remember seeing it in the theater. My dad thought it was way better than Batman Returns and thought it was a great Batman movie. And I think maybe part of that is because it does kind of remind you of the Adam West Show.
Yeah. Interesting. So, even Tommy Lee Jones, even though he ever played Two-Face, I kind of... Rewatching this, I do have a different opinion about the movie now. Like I said, It's been a little while.
Yeah.
But I guess I, liked the way he played it for the most part. This is another movie where there weren't really any superhero movies to go off of except Batman.
Right.
And that's probably another reason why they kind of channeled the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that said, he did all right. He was definitely a memorable character, that's for sure.
Definitely, yeah. And when I was a kid, I liked it, and I think it was just because, like I said, it was seeing Two-Face on the screen for the first time, and so I thought it was great. Watching it now, they don't stick to the true character. There's a scene where it's during Halloween when Riddler and Two-Face break into in Wayne Manor. He's trying to decide whether or not he should shoot Bruce Wayne, I guess.
Right.
And he flips the coin, and he keeps
getting heads.
He keeps getting the wrong thing.
Yeah.
He goes, ah. And so he keeps flipping it until he gets the answer he wants, which is not Two-Face at all.
Right, exactly.
So that's, watching it now, that's disappointing. So it does seem more of like a Joker character. It's like they wanted Joker Part 2, but they couldn't have Joker, so they did Two-Face, and they just kind of made him the Joker.
Yep. You've got the helicopter that he in the beginning with the safe scene. It's got like Two-Face, like first of all, his henchmen.
Yeah.
They're wearing ski masks that are half red, half black.
Half black, yeah.
He jumps out of the helicopter, and that's what it was on the side of the helicopter. Is like a melting yin-yang sign. That's
his parachute. Yeah.
Right, no, he has it on there too, but I think it's also on the helicopter.
Oh, also on the helicopter?
So they go to a lot of extremes to have their own personalized, custom-made...
Yeah, if they didn't spend all that money on, custom ski masks and custom parachutes and stuff, they might not have to rob banks so often.
The glowing Tommy guns, the neon lights on them. Speaking of the helicopter scene, the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, what's up with? Why is there a Statue of Liberty in Gotham City?
I wasn't sure. I meant to rewind it and look, but I think it actually said Gotham on like the headband of the Statue.
I'm pretty sure
of Liberty.
It does.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, this, when we talked about Batman Returns, we talked about how that movie felt smaller than Batman 1. And
True,
how
this one's bigger.
This one is bigger, but it still feels like it's all done on a set, to me.
Really? I didn't get that vibe this time.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like the bank feels like a set. Wayne Manor feels like a set to me. Robin driving around the Batmobile feels like he's just driving around the back lot of a set. I don't know. I think it's just because of how fake everything looks, how everything's neon lights, everything's got that weird kind of Schumacher thing going on, that it just feels... It doesn't feel smaller. Batman Returns feels smaller, but it feels fake to me, I guess. And I guess they're trying to build a comic book world, so they're trying to make it, be like, this isn't the real world. This is Gotham City, which takes place in a comic book. This is kind of ridiculous, and they're going with that. But in my opinion, it works better when you take it seriously.
Oh yeah, and you can't take this one seriously.
No.
What'd you think about the introduction of the Riddler?
I thought it was interesting. You have Edward Nygma, who's an employee of Bruce Wayne, or employee of Wayne Enterprises, who has essentially a giant man crush on Bruce Wayne. And so when Bruce Wayne denies him the funding he needs for his project, he kind of goes a little crazy. And then, of course, the what do you call it? The experiment that he's working on, the helmet, actually kind of makes him smarter. He's able to kind of go from there.
Which he was already smart to be able to.
He was already very. I'm glad that they didn't make it like a, when I watched Amazing Spider-Man 2, I couldn't help but think of this movie because they have Jamie Foxx playing this character who's like really obsessed with Spider-Man and loves Spider-Man, and then he has his accident, and then of course he becomes a villain.
Right.
So I'm glad that they didn't kind of go that route where he's, not smart and something happens and it makes him smart.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting to have him be already kind of a borderline genius, and then the more he uses that machine, the smarter he gets.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I liked that whole, concept, the device of making the Riddler smarter, and I thought the story I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty well written. I felt like when he's asking for the grant from Bruce Wayne, it was very forced in there that, he's like, I'll get with my secretary and we'll talk tomorrow.
He's like, that's not going to work for me.
Yeah, that was weird.
I think the reason that he said that, the reason why he needed an answer right away, was because, if you remember, the boss guy he apologizes to Bruce Wayne for Edward Nygma, and he says, I personally terminated his project this morning.
True.
So I think if he didn't get the yes from Bruce Wayne right then, his project would have been terminated, and it wouldn't have gone anywhere. He wouldn't have been able to make the appointment with the secretary. Although you could say that Bruce Wayne said, Bruce Wayne is interested. He wants me to make an appointment.
Yeah.
You can't terminate my project. But
exactly.
He was being a little egotistical, perhaps, or something. Maybe he assumed Bruce Wayne would say yes right away, and he could rub it in his boss's face or something.
Right. Yeah, he did have... You could tell he had confidence, like a lot of confidence, but at the same time, like, he seemed like a very kind of almost reclusive-esque kind of guy that would not have that kind of confidence.
Right.
So I don't know. And then he I found it interesting too. He's smart. He got a lot smarter with that device. Yet he pushes the guy out the window with the helmet still on.
Right. And then it loses half of his product.
It catches him, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I left it," and then runs after and saves it.
Yeah, that's not very smart, Nygma.
No.
I think it's interesting that his device essentially turns your TV into a 3D TV, which is now what we have. We have these, but you don't have to wear glasses because it sends it right into your brain. So I'm assuming that fish is like really right in front of your face.
Yeah, I think
that's how you're
it's a
perceiving
little different than
the 3D TV.
Yeah,
it just looks to us as the audience as like a 3D TV.
Right. Because 3D today is not true 3D. It still has layers.
Sure.
I think this was true 3D.
Like it's almost like virtual reality. Like you were, like the fish that you see in that scene. He was like in the water with the fisherman type of thing. Right. I gotcha.
Which would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool.
But it
doesn't make the other person dumber, does it? It just gives Edward Nygma all of their information, right?
Well, you're right. I think you're right on that, because when he stops the machine, then the guy comes to, and he's like, "What are you doing?"
Right. He just was kind of a. If I remember correctly, he kind of makes like a face, like it's like he's so entranced by it, he's almost like a vegetable.
That's what's
or something.
Kind of confusing, is because it almost appears like it's making him dumber,
right?
And especially when Nygma's like, "I'm sucking up your IQ." So, but no,
his little song thing.
I loved that.
I like that. That's a good part.
Yeah, I agree. You can't put it in a movie that's serious, but for Batman Forever, it's nice to have it.
A Batman movie with Jim Carrey in it, it works.
Yeah. Sucking up your brain.
what do you think about this Batmobile?
I don't like it.
Really? Not a fan of it?
No.
It doesn't hold a candle in my opinion to the Keaton Batmobile, but I kind of like it. I have the I had the toy of it. The fin, you know how like the fin splits open when Robin was driving it or when Dick Grayson's driving it? The back fin.
Right.
That's what the toy did, and of course because of gravity, like it never stayed open, so it's always, or never stayed closed, so it was always open. Which was annoying because you always want it to be like how it looks in the movie, and it's always just like that one scene where it's open. But yeah, I liked it. I've kind of always liked this Batmobile. I don't know. I'm kind of a fan of every Batmobile, even the Batman and Robin one, which is like ridiculous. I still kind of think is cool looking.
See, I can't even remember.
Oh, just wait.
That one. Yeah,
it doesn't even have. It's like a convertible. It doesn't even have like a canopy over it, you know, like how all these have like the sliding canopies to get in and out. That one's just open. So if it was ever raining in Gotham, the Batmobile would get wet. It's also only one person. The Batmobile in Batman and Robin is like only big enough for Batman.
Yeah. But in Batman and Robin it's 2, right?
No, it's 1. I think in Batman Forever it's 2, but in Batman and Robin it's just one seated.
Well, in the '89 Batman it was 2.
Yeah. Which is fine. That's all you need, really, right? Unless you're saving more than one person.
I think we talked about that. It didn't really make sense why he'd have a passenger seat.
Well, he's got to save the women. No.
And he does.
He's building the Batmobile, and he's like, should I make this 1 seat or 2? He looks over and sees, like, some hot woman on TV or something. He's like, better make it 2.
Well...
No.
You know, in this movie, Nicole Kidman is coming on super strong.
Yeah, and he's like, no thanks.
Yeah. Well, he kind of.
Well, yeah, at first he's like, no thanks. She shows up. She, uses the, I always like that line, even though it's ridiculous as well. The bat signal is not a beeper.
Yep.
She comes onto him strong in that scene, and he's like, no.
She's undressing, man.
And then later he kind of finally gets with her. And then remember that scene where he smiles. He leaves her apartment and smiles in the cowl. That still bugs me. I think it looks so stupid.
Really, I kind of like that scene actually.
Really,
yeah, because I mean it just shows Bruce Wayne in the mask, you know.
Right. And so Val Kilmer, better Bruce Wayne or Batman or both?
You know, I like him as both, but I think he pulls off Bruce Wayne pretty well.
Oh yeah, I think he pulls off Bruce Wayne great.
Yeah, he comes across very charismatic. Also, he seems like he can get things done. Mm-hmm. I was probably more impressed with his Bruce Wayne this viewing than I was at a younger age because I wasn't really thinking about that stuff.
Right. I like him as Bruce Wayne a lot, and I think he's fine as Batman. I think he kind of almost channels Keaton just a tiny bit in certain scenes. And I actually really like the Batman suit if it didn't have the nipples on it.
Did it have the nipples the whole time?
Yeah.
He switches suits.
In the beginning, the suit that he's wearing through the majority of the movie, the black suit with the yellow...
Right.
It's the last movie to have the yellow emblem on it, which I still am a big fan of.
Yeah.
That one has nipples on it, and then at the end of the movie, when after Riddler destroys the Batcave, he only has one suit left,
right? And
it's the prototype with the sonar modifications,
right?
That one does not have nipples on it, but Robin's does. So
I wonder why they did that.
I have no idea.
And I'm not talking about why did they put on nipples. Yes, I wonder that as well, but why did they why did they not put nipples on the prototype?
The second suit. I don't know. Maybe it looked too dumb. I don't know.
Clearly,
I'm not a fan.
Clearly that was not on their mind.
Right. I'm not a big fan of the prototype suit. I think that one looks kind of silly.
It's way more Batman and Robin. It's kind of got that silvery-esque to it.
Yeah. Which they do they do it in the second movie. Yeah, they do it in Batman and Robin as well, and there's no reason for it in Batman and Robin. Like in this movie at least there's a reason. He has a prototype suit.
Yeah.
But in Batman and Robin, it's just like for the final battle scene, they just put on a different suit that has silver, and it's weird. I don't. As far as I remember, it's been a while since I've seen Batman and Robin. There's no reason for it.
Some little nitpicky things that I've got written down. When Edward Nygma first goes to Wayne Manor on his little moped and sticks the Riddler, thing on the gate, you would think that he would have taken more precaution to be like conceal his identity,
right?
Because you would think Bruce Wayne would have security cameras, at the gate entrance.
Not so smart, Nygma. Not so smart.
But apparently he was cool because Bruce Wayne doesn't have them.
I guess he doesn't. He never found out. Yeah.
Either that or he just doesn't check his tapes.
That could be. He's like, who wants to go? Alfred, check the tapes. And Alfred's like, ugh. No, I didn't see anything.
Someone left a psychopathic note on my gate. Let's not check the security cameras, though.
Right. Maybe he doesn't have any anywhere,
He's Batman.
Robin,
he doesn't need them. You're right.
He's got, he had them in the first movie.
Yes, he did. All over the place. Behind mirrors.
Behind mirrors and stuff, yeah. So I don't understand why he wouldn't have them in the second movie. Or in the third movie, excuse me. Especially when he takes, like, Dick Grayson into his wing, or under his wing.
Ooh.
You
see
what
you did there?
Yeah. You'd think he'd want to kind of know what this kid was doing. I feel like Batman's kind of a paranoid character. Doesn't trust anybody, Always wants to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Always watching people.
He didn't come across that way in this one.
No, not at all.
So I liked how they, the death of Dick's parents.
The circus scene?
Yes.
I thought they did a pretty good job with that as well.
Mm-hmm. And I liked when he took the Batmobile out and Batman shows up.
My love machine, baby.
Which was actually a really cool scene. Because, you've got Dick Grayson out there, and you've got all these thugs.
Yeah.
And they've already seen that it's not Batman in the Batmobile, so they kind of, just turn the other way and don't even worry about him. And then he shows up, and they're like, "Who are you?" "I'm Batman." They all just start cracking up.
And laughing at him, yeah.
And then he gets in that little fight. But then someone's like, "It's the Bat," or whatever they say, and you see him up there. And I don't know why, because the movie just doesn't have many of these moments, but I got kind of almost like chills at that moment where Batman's standing up there and he comes flying down and everyone's just scattering, and you're like, that is the effect Batman has on people.
Yeah. This movie gets a couple of things right. Yeah. And then I liked in that scene too how Dick Grayson has found out that Bruce Wayne was Batman.
That's
and he
why
knows
I was bringing it up.
He knows that Bruce Wayne was at the circus. And so he starts beating on Batman, like, right then. You know, he's like, "You let them die," or whatever.
I thought Chris O'Donnell did pretty well in that scene.
Yeah.
And he has his moments in this movie.
Right.
I haven't seen too many Chris O'Donnell movies, but yeah, I
well, he doesn't.
I don't give him too much credit as an actor.
Sure. He after this, he did a couple of different movies here and there. Nothing huge. And now he does TV. He's on NCIS Los Angeles and stuff. So, but not a bad actor. I wouldn't consider him a bad actor by any means.
Mm-hmm.
I think and in these movies, I think he's a pretty good Dick Grayson. I don't,
right.
He's kind of got the '90s look to him. He's got the one earring and the
right
sideburns. I remember when the movie came out, my dad, was like, he goes, "I don't care who you are. You can tell that's who. You can figure out who that was based on his sideburns, under that mask." And I thought that was funny.
He takes the earring out, though.
He does take the earring out when he becomes Robin, but the sideburns still go underneath the mask, which is funny. And so, speaking of Robin, I actually two things. Number one, when he's trying to convince Bruce to let him be his sidekick, he's like, "I need a name, Batboy." and I think he says Nightwing. He does. Yeah, which is kind of a nice little nod to the future of Dick Grayson. But
he must have written that down somewhere then to keep that name later and be like, I'm going to use Nightwing.
He's like, Nightwing. I like that one. Nightwing's pretty good. I'm not going to use it right now, but I'm going to do it later maybe. No, but I like the Robin costume in this movie too, actually.
Yeah, me too.
It's one of the bummers, I guess you could say, about Batman and Robin. One of the many bummers. Because they go with more of a Nightwing costume in Batman and Robin. And I really like this one. I thought they did a really good job of kind of making the classic Robin costume into an adult, as best they could, adult superhero kind of costume.
Right, because, you had both of them when he was with his family in the circus.
Right.
They were wearing the very classic style Robin suit. So
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
And when he saves Batman from Two-Face, he's wearing it,
Right.
When he pulls him out of the dirt or sand or whatever it is.
That scene's awesome.
Yeah,
I wrote that down. That was one of the probably my favorite scene in the movie.
Yeah.
When you just see Batman. Well, you don't even see Batman. Just a pile of dirt. Batman's under there, and it
kind of rests on it for just a second.
Yeah.
And then the hand goes punching.
And then they hit you with the music, and the hand comes down.
Yeah.
And Robin's there. That was a good, heartwarming scene.
Yeah, I liked it too. I think Robin wouldn't work in the Christian Bale, Christopher Nolan movies,
Right.
They did the best they could in Dark Knight Rises, but it was kind of nice seeing. I think they did a good job with Robin in this film, as best they could in putting Robin into a movie. It'll be interesting to see if they ever in the future do. Because in the comics, Robin is typically a child, and so. It's 30-something-year-old Batman and 12-year-old Robin, which I just don't think would work in a real movie. Right. And so I'm curious to see if if we'll ever see a movie like that, or if it'll always be, whenever Robin shows up in a movie, if it'll always be an adult Robin.
Well, there's talk with the new one. There's talk about Nightwing being in it. Of course, he would.
Right, which would be cool. And there's talk about Carrie Kelly being Robin in the new one. Which was the female Robin from Dark Knight Returns. Yeah.
Yeah, her hair's dyed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the reddish color.
Yeah, there's a rumor that Jenna Malone is going to be Carrie Kelly. So it's very possible we'll see. She's an adult. But she's, it'll be the first female live-action Robin that we'll have seen. And I think Carrie Kelly's the only female Robin in the comic canon. So that could be cool. I'm a little nervous, not to get sidetracked from Batman Forever, but I'm a little nervous about Batman versus Superman. By the way, weren't we supposed to get a trailer or something, a teaser during the Hobbit?
I heard rumors about it, but
yeah, where's our teaser trailer? Come on,
we need something.
Right, give us something. I just actually would be content if they just released the Comic-Con footage on YouTube or something.
Yeah.
But no, I'm worried that there's going to be too many characters in Batman versus Superman. There's Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, Lex Luthor, and then now it was possible Nightwing, Robin. I'm worried it's going to be a little too much. But I'm hoping that Zack Snyder and company know what they're doing and give us a outstanding movie.
We'll see. I don't think Aquaman and The Flash. He's been announced too. I don't think Nightwing. So I don't think they're really going to be very prevalent.
Big,
even. I think Aquaman will probably be in it. Maybe The Flash. Wonder Woman will be a part of it.
Yeah, she'll be a big part
because of Comic-Con.
Sure, and releasing the poster and everything.
Right. Well,
or the photo.
Not so much that, but when they brought them out on stage, and they had all three of them.
Right.
You don't bring Godot out without her being
a major part.
Yeah, or at least a medium part.
Sure.
So I think she'll.
And I'm excited. I mean, if Aquaman and the Flash kind of show up at the end of the movie to set up Justice League or something, I'll be fine with that.
Right, that's kind of what I'm expecting.
Right, and if the movie is mainly just Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, I think it'll be cool.
Yeah.
But if they try to fit too many characters in to try to do some epic Avengers style, Justice League story too soon, then that's what's going to kind of worry me.
I just imagine the camera kind of doing a circle, and you have Aquaman step up, and then the Flash
out of the water,
and then it goes a little bit to the left, and the Flash comes running up, Green Lantern, and they're all just coming together in one meeting in a circle around Batman and Superman. That would be terrible.
I don't think I'm supposed to be here. Don't remember my face, and then runs off. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping it'll be better than that. Although we laugh at that, but like the Avengers did that essentially during that fight scene. There's that circular camera move where it goes all around all the characters, and like each one is like Captain America like puts his shield on his arm, and Thor like spins his hammer, and I think Black Widow like cocks her gun, and Hulk roars. Like they had that scene in the Avengers, and it was cool.
What?
It was cool.
I don't remember that, so I'll have to rewatch that scene.
Yeah, you'll see it. I mean, it's not the first. It's not the. It's not when they first introduce all the characters or anything. It's not in the beginning of the movie. It's during the big fight scene at the end, but it's kind of the first time they all come together as a team.
Uh-huh.
And so that's when it's like the first time they're fighting together as the Avengers, and the camera goes all around the whole group. I can't believe you can't remember that because it's probably one of the most iconic images from the film. But I'm sure you remember it. You just don't really realize it. I'll send you the clip of it, after we're done.
Okay.
But Batman Forever.
Well, towards the end. Well, it's not towards the end. They've got it really in the middle of the movie. First of all, the Joker, the Riddler. See, that's how much they are like the Joker.
Right.
The Riddler shows up at Two-Face's
lair,
yeah, and is kind of pitching him his idea. And then they team up and start robbing banks and stuff.
Yeah.
I kind of like how they did that, where he was like, he's going to flip the coin for, am I going to work with this guy?
Right.
If it lands on the bad side, I'm blowing his head off.
Yeah. And then it cuts and you see them working together.
Yeah, at first it cuts. You see Two-Face's henchman storming into a jewelry shop, and then Two-Face comes in, and then it pans over real fast to the Riddler, and he's breaking glass or something. So obviously they're working together. And what is going to land on?
Yeah, they're not going to kill Jim Carrey off 20 minutes in the movie. Right.
But anyway, what I'm getting to is they go to their new base. I'm assuming it's a new base. I don't think it's Two-Face's, where it's out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, I'm assuming. I guess who knows how Riddler. I'm assuming Riddler came about that headquarters somehow.
Right,
maybe he had. He got the information from somebody who was watching TV, and he took it over. But again, spent a lot of money.
That thing's huge, and and I mean, it's got the gigantic, mind box on top,
Enigma machine. Yeah,
and
whatever.
it's just how long did it take them to make that?
Right,
and you don't think that much time has gone by,
and you'd think Batman would have seen it.
Is
or something
yeah, I mean, it just appears and it's built and ready and functioning. So I didn't like that.
Right? Yeah, that's cheesy. And the battleship. What do you think about the battleship?
Oh man, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And if you notice when they're underwater, the Riddler has henchmen too.
Really?
It's the scuba divers. And they have these glowing question marks on their air tank masks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hired some henchmen already. Either that or he stole some from Two-Face.
Yeah.
In that when Batman, so Batman, his Batcave is blown up, and he accepts Robin as being his partner, and they go to the island to confront and fight Riddler and Two-Face. That has one of my favorite moments in it, where Robin gets onto the island and goes, "Holy rusted metal, Batman!" And Batman goes, "Huh?" And he's like, "The ground. It's metal. It's all full of holes, holy." And he goes, "Oh." Which I think is a great little nod,
It is total
again,
nod.
to the Adam West
There's
show.
no reason for it without it being a nod. I mean, can you imagine if it wasn't a nod and he had done that?
Yeah.
I mean, clearly Bruce Wayne is like, what are you talking about?
Right. When I said you could be my partner, I didn't know you were going to start saying stupid stuff like that. I got a reputation here.
So what did you think about the Dr. Chase Meridian and Bruce Wayne love relationship?
It's probably the most forgettable part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as a kid, obviously I didn't care about it. I wanted to see more Batman.
Right. I found it interesting. She invites him when he comes to. Well, they've got that party that they're at where Edward. First of all, Edward, I think is very clever, and I don't know if they did this in the comics, but his name is so
Enigma.
Yeah, Enigma and Mystery.
Oh yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, it's neat with the things you can do with his name.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's got his little party going, and Batman crashes it after they read his mind. And Dr. Chase, Dr. Meridian, sees Batman, pulls him aside, invites him to her, my place, midnight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Batman shows up, and then she's like, I've got a thing for someone else.
Right.
Which was cool because she kisses him there. And then that leads... I guess that's the whole point of that scene, if you think about it, is... Because then when she shows up, like the next day, at Bruce Wayne's manor, and they're talking, and then they kiss, you can tell in her face...
She realizes.
She's like, oh my gosh, you're totally Batman.
Yeah.
And then that's when Riddler and
Two-Face
Two-Face break in, and it makes sense. I guess, as a kid, I was like, how is she not freaked out by everything Bruce Wayne's doing right now?
Right.
But she knows he's Batman, so.
There's a goof in that scene where Riddler and Two-Face come into Wayne Manor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember where I learned it, but I heard about it back when I used to watch this on VHS, and can't not see it now. It's one of those things, But when Alfred, it's obviously a stuntman, not the actor Michael Gough, because I think he was too old probably to fall down like that. But he checks the door and it says, it's Riddler and Two-Face, obviously, saying trick or treat, right. And he opens the door for him anyway. They kind of push the door in and it knocks him over.
Uh-huh.
And he hits the ground, but the tray that he's holding falls a little too far to the right or something.
Uh-huh.
And so after he's hit the ground, he pushes the tray to his left or whatever. He slides it over so that Riddler and Two-Face don't step on it.
Oh, weird.
So when you watch the movie, watch that scene again, and you'll see them knock the door down. And watch Alfred. He hits the ground, and then he pushes a tray over so that they don't trip on it or something. So it's he's supposed to be knocked out already, and he's like, "Oh, my bad."
Alfred was just being a good butler,
right?
Letting the guests in.
That's right.
Don't slip.
Right.
At the end of the movie, I'm watching it, and it's the cheesy Riddler layer and everything. But
he's got the glowing jacket and everything with the lights.
Yeah. Well, no, even after that, he puts on that white leotard suit.
Oh yeah, and he has the question mark mask,
right?
Which I've never really liked that.
It's interesting. I mean, it's odd, but I kind of had the same feeling with that scene as I did with a lot of Batman Returns, where I was like, I think if this were an animated film right now,
it'd be better.
I would actually probably be enjoying it.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite parts of that scene is when Batman tells the Riddler that he has a riddle for him.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey's reaction is just awesome. He just cracks up. He's like, "Tell me," and then goes and sits down on his throne. He's just so prideful.
Spins his cane.
Yeah, I just loved. Yeah, that was a good little scene right there.
I've always wondered too when he says the line, "If knowledge is power, then a god am I."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Then a god am." And like echoes throughout like everything, and then he goes, "Too much." I was like, "How did he do that?"
Right, it's super deep.
Yeah, I mean it's super deep and it sounds very amplified. Right. So unless he's got like some hidden microphone or something.
Well, he does speak into his. He does speak into his cane when he's like, "What's behind door number 1?"
Right, and I feel like again they added those effects later on. It's not like. I guess
he's clearly. I think he like opens up the top of his cane and like is holding the cane
as a microphone.
I think he's got a microphone in his cane.
Well, maybe he does.
He's got all kinds of other things. He's got this glowing, turning question marks lights that are like shining all over the building, and they've got a.
It's quite the lair.
It's definitely a. Comic,
it has like
a comic villain's lair.
Yes. It has the fake floor with like the giant drop.
Right.
So that he can just kill Chase Meridian and Robin, who by the way is kind of useless. He gets onto the island. He does save Two-Face. It's a noble act, you know. He could have let Two-Face die, but he saves him. But then of course he becomes a hostage for it. So Batman I guess can't blame him for it, but he gets caught pretty quickly on his first mission.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think Batman would be like, "See," after that, but he didn't. You know, partners.
What'd you think of the coin trick?
I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah. And I can see how Batman would have been carrying around, a whole bunch of coins for that. Of course, how did he know?
Knowing that he's going to fight Two-Face, yes.
Right.
Not just like an everyday thing.
Right, exactly.
But like they go to that island knowing they're going to fight Two-Face and Riddler.
Right.
So I could see him grabbing a whole bunch of different coins like that as well. And putting them in his utility belt. I actually currently have the movie playing on my TV, and I just saw one of the scenes. It reminded me of seeing it in the theater. Right after Robin and Batman agree to be partners, Batman takes the bat plane and Robin takes the bat boat.
Right.
And you see Commissioner Gordon standing on the rooftop of the police headquarters or whatever. And he's like, "Turn it off, it's not coming." Or he's not coming. And then right then you kind of hear something. And he goes, wait. And I remember in the theater, this is one of the first times I ever really noticed surround sound in the theater. But when I saw that in the theater, the sound of the bat plane came from behind you. And so the speakers like behind you in the back of the theater started rumbling first, and then it came zooming towards like the front of the speakers, the front speakers in the theater. And I remember thinking it was so cool. And then that scene is kind of ruined by Batman not being able to turn his head and having to turn his whole body towards Commissioner Gordon and giving him the thumbs up.
I did like Gordon's reaction there. He's like, "Go, go!"
Yeah, I did too. Yeah,
he's really excited.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that they decided to keep, because pretty much everybody in this movie is new except for Alfred and Commissioner Gordon.
Right.
And so it's interesting to me that they kept Commissioner Gordon. It's the same actor for Alfred and Commissioner Gordon in all 4 movies.
Right.
That's Pat Hingle, who plays Commissioner Gordon. And I wonder why they decided... I wonder if it was a contract thing, or I wonder why they decided to keep those actors and not just go ahead and kind of... I mean, I guess because it is technically a sequel, and that's why.
It has to be a sequel, because, I mean, without them, I would say this was not a sequel.
Right.
But
well, yeah, exactly. But Chase Meridian even talks about Catwoman.
She does.
She says, "Do I need black vinyl or whatever in a whip?"
Yeah.
And so it is definitely a sequel to Batman Returns, but it does in no way feels like a sequel to Batman Returns.
Right. I remember when I was younger, and Bruce Wayne is reminiscing about the death of his parents. And it was right after, or shortly after, the Grayson family, died.
Yeah.
And he says, I killed them. And then Alfred's like, what'd you say? And he says, he killed them. He killed his parents. Yeah. But it was right after a scene where he was thinking about his parents dying.
Right.
And I always thought when he said he killed them, I thought he was saying that Two-Face killed his parents.
Oh, like they were changing the origin.
Yeah, so I was like, so wait, Joker killed his parents, but I guess not. So that was another thing that was kind of confusing.
Right.
But watching it this time, clearly he was just talking about Two-Face killed Dick Grayson's parents.
Right.
That's about really, all I have to say about the movie.
Yeah, I can't. The only other thing I guess I could talk about is it gave us kind of a decent soundtrack. We got Seal's "Kiss from a Rose" from this movie, which when it came out, I hated that song.
No kidding. It was so overplayed.
I did not like it at all. It was one of those things where, like, if you liked that song, you were dumb, type of thing. But now, I actually kind of enjoy that song.
That song's awesome. It came on at the end credits, and I was like, man, this song's really good.
I really like it.
I also like U2's song.
Yeah, it's like "Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me."
Yeah.
That was a cool song too. Yeah, I like that one as well. And then there's a song by I'm not going to remember the name of it, but it's when Riddler, right after he kills his boss and he goes to his weird looking apartment.
No, it's before he kills his boss. It's because they throw that line in. If you're thinking about the same song I am.
Yeah, where you can blow in your dreams you can blow your boss's head off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right after he kills his boss. Because he's making the riddle. He's already given one riddle to Bruce Wayne, and he's making another. And he tells that guy, he goes, "You'll never guess what I did today." I'm pretty sure it's right after he kills his boss. He
does say that. But I could have sworn it was just when he got denied by Bruce Wayne. No?
I'm pretty sure.
But
it doesn't matter.
You want to make a bet on it?
Sure. I'll bet you a quarter again.
Okay.
All right, we'll verify next episode. Yeah. So other than that, that's pretty much all I have to really say about the movie. I think. Rating? What would you rate it?
I thought I was going to give it higher than this.
Yeah.
But rewatching it, I'm going to give it 2.5 stars.
2.5 out of 5. That's like what? Like a C? Like is that like middle of the road?
Probably a C minus.
Okay. Well, I have a small confession to make. I actually did not rewatch the film prior to doing this episode. It is currently playing on my TV.
But you said you watched it like less than a year ago.
Yeah, it was less than a year ago. And so I think, to me, it still has entertainment value to the point where I can kind of sit down and watch it and enjoy it. Not as much as Batman or even Batman Returns.
But don't you think the only reason for that is because it was a childhood movie?
The nostalgia. Yes, but that's okay. I'm going to still give it a. I'm going to give it a B minus.
B minus. Wow. Okay.
Yes, B minus. I almost gave it a B, but talking about it, I think maybe I should give it some points off. So I'm going to give it a B minus.
Cool.
But it has some good moments. I don't know. It's still, like I said, still kind of a spot for it in my...
And I get that. I try to keep that out of my rating, though.
Sure. Yeah, I get. Yeah, I shouldn't, but I am this time.
Well, there's some movies where I wouldn't care. Right. I'd be like, I'm putting my love for this movie in this rating, but I try as best as possible to just look at it as a movie for what it is. So, anyway.
All right, well, we'd love to hear what you think about Batman Forever. Please let us know. You can comment on cinemaheroes.com, which is currently going through a redesign at the moment. Hopefully by the time this episode appears, it'll be back to looking normal. Or you can go to facebook.com/SM and SM podcast. That's our Facebook page. You can leave a comment on there or let us know. And you can throw us a line on Twitter @cinemaheroes.com. As always, if you've got any Amazon purchases to make, you can head to cinemaheroes.com, click on the Amazon banner. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but we get a tiny percentage from it, and that's always helpful, and we appreciate it. I think that's about it. That wraps up this episode of Superheroes, Movies, and Superhero Movies. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzo.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading.
This week's episode is on the 1990 film Batman Forever!
You did it again, 1990 film.
Did I?
Yeah.
I said 95.
You said 1990 film. That's what you keep saying, 1990 film.
This week's episode is on the 1995 film Batman Forever!